Hey, John Frainer here with the Green Truck, our 1972 Chevy C10 pickup. So today I'm going to show you guys how to go through the instrument cluster. Now this is one of those videos where unfortunately I lost a bunch of the footage, so it's not all here, but it should be enough to give you an idea of how to go about this. So just be aware of that. You won't be able to see every single step, but you'll see a lot of it. So as you can see, this thing looks decent, but it's due for some work, especially since we're doing the interior. You can see here where I've redone the black, and then the chrome I've painted silver. And then here you can see some cracks where the bezel itself is starting to break. So, and just general wear and tear that you would expect from years of use. You can see where my needle paint job is starting to wear off and show through, and it's just looking kind of shabby altogether. So we're going to take care of all that. Now the first thing we're going to do is get it apart. There's two sizes on the back here, 5/16 and 1/4 inch. So you'll want those in sockets, and then a 5/16 wrench. Now the first thing you're going to want to do is mark this empty socket here. This is where the bulb for the shift indicator goes, and it just has a bulb there, and then a tube for the fiber optic that goes up to the column. So you're going to remove all the bulbs, get those out of the way. And then if you have one, you may need to make a special one. But if you've got a super slim 5/16 wrench, you're going to slip it under there and hold the bottom nut under the circuit, the flexible circuit panel there. You're going to hold that put while you break it loose with the socket. And then you're just basically going to remove all of those screws and separate the various pieces, and then it's up to you on how far you want to go with taking apart the gauges and stuff like that. Me, I just did some surface work on them and basically touched up some of the black background and did the needles. I tried a couple different needle paints. One I got through, I think it was LMC Truck, and another one I got through Amazon. So the one I got from LMC Truck, it's from Gauge Co. And it's a very bright orange, and it came with its own applicator brush. And I found this stuff very difficult to lay down, and it was extremely chalky. I ended up not liking it at all. What I ended up using is from a company called High Pro Parts. It requires a brush to put it on. As you can see here in the picture, I got a little green brush, and it went on a lot better, but I still wasn't happy about it. It still had kind of a chalky texture and no gloss to it, and it wasn't completely smooth. So I was kind of lamenting all this to my wife, and she came up with the great idea of, believe it or not, using a clear and nail polish on top of it as kind of a clear coat. And we kind of went back and forth about it a little bit, and my concern was it wouldn't last more than a few months. And she was saying that nail polish itself doesn't just wear off or whatever. It's that the abuse on the nails is what makes your nail job not last very long. And she said she had a really high quality clear coat nail polish, and that it would probably work pretty well. Now time will tell how long this lasts, but so far it's doing really well. I went ahead and tried it. It made the gauge needles look beautiful. It gave them a nice pop, gave them a nice gloss, and it helped level out and smooth out the finish so that they looked really close to the factory smoothness and all that. So I'm very happy with it. I highly recommend using a high quality clear nail polish as a clear coat on these. It made all the difference. So there's a little tip for you on that. Now this is starting into the final assembly. Once we got the gauges done and all that. This is the original glass. So what I did here is I used the Meguiar's headlight restoration kit on this. So I basically went through the stages, and if you saw in the beginning there was a thing on the speedometer of a mileage sticker. That was basically just when the engine had been gone through, they put the mileage of that. And I removed that, and I sanded it on the front side where it had all the scratches and things like that. And then I went through the other stages of polishing and doing the protective coating on that. And it came out almost perfect. There's still a couple imperfections, but more or less it looks really close to brand new and came out really nice. So there's a couple little tips on the assembly here I want to pass along. One is to be sure as you begin the final assembly behind the glass that you use an air duster to get any lint and stuff out of there. And then once you're done arranging everything in there, hit it again. The other is this here, and that's the foam. So what happens is that this happened with the new bezel, and years ago when I had this all apart, the whole unit rattled, which is unacceptable. So you just take some small open cell foam, and I used some of this two-sided tape, and you just put it in a few of the key areas so that when you put the backing down in there, it just keeps tension on everything between the backing right there and the lens. And then that will keep it from rattling as you're driving down the road. So you can see here I'm shaking it, and that was my test to make sure I couldn't hear anything, and it turned out really well. So from there it's just a matter of getting these little turn signal things to stay put, which is kind of a trick. They're quite brittle at this point, so I had to do some repairs to one of them and reattach them, and then I was able to kind of lay it all back down in there, as you can see here. And from there you just reassemble it. You don't want to over tighten any of these fasteners, but just kind of go around and get the main housing ones all tightened down, and then go back through, and once you've got them all seated, go around and start installing the actual gauges. So here I'm checking again to make sure that it still doesn't rattle, and we're not going to have any annoying noises as we're going down the road. As you can see, I was very persistent on making sure there was no noises. So again, now we're just putting the gauges back in and installing all the nuts, or the screws I should say, that have nothing to do with the circuit board. That's why I'm laying it down occasionally. So then here you want to carefully install the screws that hold the circuit board and the nuts at the ends there. You don't want to over tighten any of that, or you will break the circuit or rip the entire unit. So from there, pretty much have an entire assembly. As you can see, it almost looks brand new compared to this old look from where we started with the attempt at a repaint, which again turned out okay, but didn't look anywhere as good as the original look. Here you can see it's just everything's brighter. You got the nice chrome, the lenses are cleaned. Here again you can see the lenses, kind of old looking, and in the end, as you can see here, it turned out really well. All we replaced was the bezel. Everything else has just been reworked and restored, and I'm really happy with it. The gauges turned out great. I'm really happy with the needles. They look brand new. So anyways, there you go. There's kind of a breakdown of how to go through one of these. Hope that helps.